You want to go faster, you want to be more aero, but you don't want to break the bank. Well, here's my selection of best value aero upgrades. Now, as we travel faster on our bikes, the effort required to overcome aerodynamic drag increases exponentially, which is why we turn to aero upgrades to essentially cheat the wind. But these can sometimes cost an arm and a leg, which got me thinking, what are some of the best value aero upgrades? So I have brought together a handful of my favorites along with some approximate savings, though of course these are open to some debate somewhat, as they are amalgamated from various sources to provide a ballpark figure rather than precise data. So let's dive into this. Now, an aero helmet is significantly faster than your standard well-vented road helmet. An aero road helmet like this one could be around 3 to 4 watts faster for a rider who's 75 kgs riding at 40 kilometers an hour. That's quite a lot. You could emulate that on a standard road helmet if you like this one here, by taping up those vents. I can't guarantee you'll hit the 3 to 4 watts faster. That very much depends on your taping skills. Anyway, if we then step that up to a full TT helmet, we could be talking in the region of 10 to 12 watts. However, and there is a big however, that very much depends on your position with that helmet. Yeah, take a long tail helmet, for example. The idea is that that tail fits into the very top of the back. It rests up against the back, closing that gap and allowing the air to flow smoothly over the helmet and off your back. If there is a gap between the helmet and the back, well, the savings may not be as much. Now, there is a little trick to this that I used to use, and I know many of the pros still do, and that is by adding a bit of extra padding into the front of the helmet. What that does is actually allows you to push and position the helmet better, so you can push it up slightly and back into the back of the helmet. Of course, make sure you're not pushing up too much and therefore making the helmet unsafe. We're just talking a small amount here just to close a small gap between the helmet and the back. But it can be quite a big saving, quite a big improvement for just a few quid. Now, you can just use normal helmet padding and just layer it up on top of one another, or as I've done in the past, I use something called go-kart seat padding, and I just use sort of like the 8mm thick foam, and I just add that inside the helmet. Right, now for the big one. If you are riding a road bike and haven't already popped clip-on aero bars onto your road bike, then hurry up. Clip-on aero bars allow you to drastically reduce your frontal area and therefore the size of you, the object that you are trying to push through the air. We actually tested this recently and the results were quite staggering. At 30 kilometers an hour, I saved 40 watts, and at 45 kilometers an hour, 124 watts. Considering you can pick up some fairly cheap aero bars these days in the region of 25 to 35 pounds, this is an incredible watts per pound or dollar saving. Now, if you are committing to the road bike setup, then you can also actually consider the handlebars too. Hear me out on this one. Now, if you are in the aero bars, then these road bike handlebars are going to be below you and sticking out from either side, catching in the wind. So you could consider and start searching for some slightly narrower handlebars, therefore reducing your frontal area minimally. And I know it seems petty, you're only bringing them in by maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, but all these small things can add up. Have a little search online or second hands. Next up, tires. Okay, I appreciate tires aren't necessarily that cheap. I mean, a set of Conti GP 5000s like I have here could cost you somewhere in the region of 50 to 75 pounds per tire. But we do have to replace our tires from time to time. And before you rush ahead and buy any old tire and any size, do give it some consideration, because the way in which your tire interacts with your wheel, and I appreciate this is a rather expensive wheel, but hear me out here, it's very important. Now, the idea of a set of deep section wheels like this is that the air flows off the tire and then this deep section rim catches that airflow and controls it and smoothens it out as best as possible. And the fastest setups are when the tire is the same width as the rim or slightly smaller. Combined with the knowledge that wider tyres in the region of 25mm have a lower rolling resistance than some of the popular older sizes like 23mm or smaller, wheel companies have responded by creating wheels with wider rims to accommodate this tyre size, but also obviously to improve the aerodynamics with that. Now, it's very hard for me to sit here and give you a tyre or exact sizes or even savings because there's just so many possible combinations of tyres and wheels. What I would suggest is checking out the manufacturer's website for the wheels that you own and seeing if they have publicised wheels or tyres, sorry, and sizes to go with that. If they haven't, then there are actually some specialist websites that do a lot of testing that you can find this information on. Well, out with one wheel and in with the other. A disc wheel, whoa! Now hang on, I don't mean a real disc wheel. What if I told you you can convert your current existing wheel to a disc wheel a fraction of the cost? Yeah, I mean, a disc wheel like this could cost you anywhere in the region of £1,000 to £3,000 or more just for one wheel. But there are things called disc wheel covers from the likes of Easy Gains that cost around £220. They make them in various different sizes to clip onto and very easily onto different wheels. And they've actually tested them at Easy Gains to save around 10 to 15 watts at 40 kilometers an hour. Quite impressive. Or you can make your own, like I did. I mean, it wasn't that bad either. It did do quite well. It only cost me £30. I can't guarantee it would save you between 10 to 15 watts, but it did look pretty mean. If you want to check that video out, well, I'll put the link for that in the description down below. Well, another easy win is with your bottles, both in shape and placement. Now, swapping out your standard round down tube bottles for an Aero bottle like this one, the Elite Chrono CX, can actually save you in the region of 3 to 4 watts at 40 kilometers an hour. Now, admittedly, these things aren't the cheapest bottles at £25 to £35 per pot. But compared to many Aero components, that's not that bad really. Another area that you can see big savings is with the placement of your hydration. And one in particular is by using some well-integrated front hydration systems like this one. Now actually, many often test the bikes to be faster with these hydration systems that integrate well than without. Now this is a really good example. This is the Profile Design Area Hydration System, and this is an aftermarket option, so you can add this onto most bikes, and it neatly snugs into the stem and then around the frame. Another option is to hide the bottles behind you, where obviously the airflow is already disturbed by you as the rider. Now, if you are planning to carry normal standard bottles like this, perhaps doing a long distance event, an Ironman, you can pick up multiple bottles, then storing it behind the saddle is one of the more aerodynamic places. Talking of which, if you're going to be carrying spares, extra tubes and inflation devices and various things like that, and do consider where you place them too. It's all very well having this slick pre-race setup, but then when it comes to race day, you start taping these spares on in any old place. Badly placed spares, again, have been tested to cost you anywhere in the region of sort of 3 to 4 watts, depending on where they're placed, of course. So try to store these within frame compartments or behind the saddle too. Well, next up, and there's some pretty bold claims when it comes to Aero socks. Yes, Aero socks. Now, these socks are made with unique fabrics and textures that more effectively and efficiently distribute the airflow around your ankles and lower legs. Now, considering you can just pick these up for around 20 to 35 pounds, and some brands state that you can save in the region of 4 to 8 watts at 40 kilometers an hour, that's not bad. In fact, one brand even states that they save 13.6 watts at 50 kilometers an hour, just for a pair of socks. Or you could just shave. Bar buying yourself a razor, this one is absolutely free too. I actually tested this one recently in the wind tunnel, and the results blew my mind. Shaving my legs saved almost 6 watts at 30 kilometers an hour and 17.5 watts at 45 kilometers an hour. My beard was not quite so rewarding, with just a 1.5 watt saving at 30 kilometers an hour and 2.29 watts saving at 45 kilometers an hour. But gains are gains. And my final one, a 10-pound yoga mat. Yep, your greatest drag when on the bike is you, and therefore has the greater potential for aero gains. Work on your position and it could well be your best value aero upgrade. So get yourself on the yoga mat, start doing some flexibility so that you can not only hold a more aerodynamic and better position, it means you're more comfortable and you may find you're able to put out more power for longer too. What's not to like about that? Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If so, please do give it a thumbs up, give it a like. If you've got any more suggestions, please let us know in the comment section down below. Share them with the community, get involved. And if you have enjoyed today's video, please do subscribe. See you next time.